we're mindful how we tread during the rainy season. We need to protect lives and property in these times. Talking about lives and property, I have a fine insurance practitioner. He's a marketer, a man who has eons of experience under his belt, and he's seen the industry evolve over time. And today we're going to get to plunder his experience and his fine brain a little bit to get a better understanding of the insurance industry and really some groundbreaking ideas and innovation that he's got in, as they say, in his coconut. So you are welcome to the show, and welcome to my guest, Edgar Wiredu, the marketing pro that focuses on insurance.
Yeah, bro, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
See, so this is one of the most difficult conversations to have, because you and I, we've talked about everything there is to talk about under the sun. But I think that your experience and understanding of the insurance space is something that we cannot let go to waste. So this afternoon, I would like to start off by asking you, how did you fall in love with insurance? I mean, there are several things you could have marketed.
Oh, well, I started working with the insurance industry, and then that is since 1985, and the flair for marketing actually just came in at a later stage. So then the marketing aspect became real, and trying to understand the issues relating to identifying needs of people, identifying what the real situation is like on the ground, and then trying to make some adjustments to it, because it's like we're too much known for the status quo. The word change is a problem for people, that sometimes you have to be a little bit, let's say, I wouldn't want to use the word vociferous, but it's like you've got to be really strong in your convictions, and then
hold your ground.
Bring this things out, and then see the kind of impacts that you can make, so far as the dynamism of the world continues, and then the needs begin to take different lines. So you also have that duty to ensure that you go along that area and make it okay for people. That's about it.
Fantastic. Well, welcome once again to the show, and I really didn't plan how today turned out. We had planned to have a conversation generally around insurance, and sometime around 1 a.m. I suddenly heard this rush of wind, and then the rain started, and then it stopped, and it started, then it started, and it just carried on throughout the night. And I remember I didn't catch much sleep because I was worried about the people who live in areas that every year have to count losses after heavy downpours like that because of the attendant floods that we get. I'd like us to start our discussion around, why do we have these problems year in, year out? Can't people insure themselves against some of these losses?
Well, unfortunately, it's the same. How many days? June 3rd and June 9th, right?
Yeah, 6 days, 5 years and 6 days.
Yes, and you really want to recap events of that unfaithful June 3rd, because I was almost a victim that day. Yeah, I was almost a victim just around the Goyle filling station there.
You're one of the people who like going to the Goyle, because that was my place. That's where I used to buy my petrol.
No. In my case, my car was flooded.
Oh.
At how do you call it? The Rawlings, the Liberation Circle.
Okay.
Okay, and there was no car coming. I managed to get my guys, that is a mechanical lorry, to come and then tow the car. So since there was no car coming, the gentleman decided to drop me off around Champion House.
At the back. Okay, so
that I can easily catch a car to Circle.
And then make your way home.
And of course, it was doomsday around that time. Because everything was, funny. As I was walking towards the area, in fact, I was really, really whacked because I then come from a meeting. I was really, really tired. I was not aware of what actually was going on. I was actually walking in the water, thinking I'll get a car at second. I don't want to go into that.
All right. Well, then let's stick with the conversation.
You know what happened? Finally, I had to get back through the PTC, walk towards the Rani clinic there. They sent through that area. That got at
the asylum down. Yeah.
Yes, a car had blocked it because it has been pulled out. I had to climb over the car.
Wow.
Walk down to the other side of the road, and I had to charter a trotro that was coming from Medina.
Wow.
I had to charter the trotro home. And sitting inside that trotro, my goodness, another experience altogether.
That's another conversation we will have another time. But I mean, the question around insurance, it's from my layman's perspective, insurance is something that we collectively, so the three of us in this studio, we pool money into there, and if either one of us or has a claim or an unfortunate incident that's covered by that policy, then we get taken care of by that pool of funds. If we have these things happening year in, year out, why do you think we've not been able to provide adequate insurance for people in these areas?
Well, I think it's more to do with the strategies that the insurance industry has to put in place, and I think that is one area that the industry has failed. The traditional concept of insurance is you don't insure certainties. That's the traditional concept. But as time has moved on, the connoisseurs have actually come to realize that irrespective of that, there is still a way around it. And one of the things that at times hurts me so much is the fact that we always want the white man to start something before we get into it. As if on our own, we cannot see the problem, we cannot think through and then come out with solutions.
Well, at least COVID-19 has shown that we can start something and people can copy.
So now we got to really rock the boat now. We get it. Because, this flood matter is not just Ghana. I mean, in Europe, in the Americas, it's all over the place. Some of them are even worse hit than ours, right? But they've been able to design what they call the flood pool. Just as we have also designed what we call the, oil and gas pool. You got it. We should be able to do something in that direction. But then one of the funny things is that because you think that the losses could be of a certain, figure that could really drain you down, so you are trying to run away from that. But I don't believe that is what you got to do. What you need.
But who goes into business to lose? If you said the traditional sense of insurance is that we do not insure certainties.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the perennial floods have become predictable.
Yeah.
And so it can be called a certainty to an extent.
See, from a business point of view, not a technical point of view.
Okay.
You got to look at it from a business point of view. All right. Now, you look at it in this way that maybe initially I was giving you this kind of policy. Now, what is going to happen is this policy I'm going to give to you, I'm going to probably look at the deductibles again. Okay? Or maybe when the loss come, we're going to share it on a certain basis. Right? Now, when you have such intent as your background, you are now making a case to the government that, look, going towards this direction, we do incur a lot of losses. So, in able to cushion us, you, the government, you need to also make certain things available to the industry. For instance, you can negotiate your taxes, the taxes that you pay to government. Because one of the funny things is that if businesses collapse, you, the insurance company, you are not there. You depend on how strong businesses are. So if all the business collapse today, just like, for instance, what are we seeing today? COVID-19 has come up. All right? You have situations where the hospitality industry is virtually non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the aviation industry is suffering. Okay, you want to look at other areas like nightclubs,
Yeah.
people having
That value chain has been completely, impacted.
At the end of the day, the existence of these companies pay premiums to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's look at all the hotels. Now, the hotels are not working. If their policies are due for renewal, what's going to happen?
Of course, they'll hold back.
So, what happens? Your revenue also goes down. You get it? So, having such things at the back of the mind, you need to come up and design something such that when some of these disasters strike, they are not totally out of business. I was discussing this with some colleagues of mine, and I said, you know what? Why haven't we looked at the unemployment insurance aspect? Now, this unemployment insurance would have guaranteed all the people within this stream maybe half of their salaries for the next 6 months. Okay? What is also going to happen is that these people some who may have had mortgage policies and what have you, they will be in the position to pay off their mortgage while their mortgage protection also runs. Having at the back of the mind that probably within the 6 months or just around the 6 months, we should have found our feet. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can extend it for another 3 months. It's okay. This time, instead of having the half pay, you can get a quarter of your salary, right? And all these things works well for you, the industry, because if there's no job, you don't also exist.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be creative in areas such as trying to make life comfortable for people.
Mm-hmm.
That is why you are there. Because one of the things is that apart from personal benefits that individuals will get, right? Financial losses are also taken care of, bringing people back to business.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is that there's a huge amount of money for investments. And these investments, people can also borrow from that same pool that you have created.
Mm-hmm.
So it's some kind of cycle that goes round, okay? Because your insurance, most of your monies are put into investments. And these investments are what? People can go to the bank and borrow. People can do this, people can do that. It's all a cycle. You get it? The government itself can even borrow from it. That by way of, how do you call it? These kind of bonds that the government at times. Not
the municipal bonds or.
No, not the bonds. I mean, like.
The treasury bills.
Yeah, treasury bills
yeah.
and all that. You get it. So you should be interested in the survival of the people around so that you can also survive. But if you shy away from some of these things, then indirectly you are killing your own industry. Because if the people are not in business, what happens to you? You can also not be in business.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a need to take a whole, as I said, it's more of a business-minded approach and then creativity. And you look at it, and then you got to move on. But if you want to sit down and fold your arms and say, I wouldn't do this, don't forget that your failure to meet a particular demand, okay, is enough to put people within that area off, and therefore will not even want to listen to any other thing again, even though other lines may be important.
Wow, that's very interesting. It's 29 minutes past 1 on your Superstation Joy 99.7 FM. I'm having a conversation on the Executive Lounge with insurance marketer Edgar Wiredu. And Edgar has been talking about the importance of creativity and innovation within the sector to be able to provide adequate cover that is also very responsive to our peculiar needs.
Exactly.
I think that some of the things that in terms of that response, the regulator, National Insurance Commission, introduced the MID, the Motor Insurance Database, so that insurance stickers will no longer be provided as manual stickers, but now it's computer generated, and there's also, I think, a QR code of some sort that you can scan, and this was meant to weed out the dodgy people in our society who were making And it's very interesting, crime costs a lot, right? These guys were stealing close to 390 million CDs a year in terms of the stickers that they were, and they were costing the insurance company. So an amalgamation of the cost of buying insurance, one, and then also the claims that are paid on people who have legitimate claims, but the other party can't be held because there was no insurance on the car to start with.
Well, first of all, I think that the introduction of the what do you call it,
the MID,
the database,
mm-hmm.
good concept, but I think it's too narrow.
Really?
Yeah, it's too narrow. Narrow in the sense that you are talking about making sure that the vehicles that are on the road have genuine insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, that's good. But it should go beyond that. So, for instance, there are accident cases.
Mm-hmm.
The MID should be able to capture every accident that is recorded. All right? Every accident that comes, the MID is supposed to record. You should be able to have an idea of the category of risk that is available,
mm-hmm.
be it the individual private, the corporate,
mm-hmm.
the taxis, the what have you, age groups of the people who are involved in most of these accidents, right, professions and what have you,
mm-hmm.
right? You got to get a good data on all these things. It helps in policy formulation. It gives you a certain trajectory. You see a certain direction. And as you want to grow and make certain decisions, you have what do you call real information on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the claims that are paid, all right, every figure, whatever goes into it, everything, you must have it immediately, or somebody say real time,
mm-hmm.
at your end. You have them. Beyond that, you want to look at other areas. Like, for instance, today we're talking about flood. All right? It shouldn't be just because maybe there is an insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
But then regardless of the fact that there's no insurance policy, the insurance industry must be able to capture all this information. You are building a good data.
And in the world today, data is the new gold.
Exactly.
And the new oil.
So regardless of whether they were insured or not, you must be able to build that data for tomorrow's purposes.
Of course, you can't formulate policies without information.
Without information. You said here, like, I recall that, how many, 6 years ago or 6 or 7 years ago, I've forgotten. There was this Nigerian aircraft that came here, and then,
Allied.
No, Ike or something. Ike Airlines something.
No, there was an Allied Air cargo plane.
No, it was Ike.
Oh, there was an Ike Air flight. Yes.
Good. And then, caused that mess. As an insurance industry, whether you insure the aircraft or not, at least it is information that is worth having.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What happened to the situation, what happened, the information, blah, 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 you must get it. The data that this, what's the name? This June 3rd thing that we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I hear some people are talking about the fact that they haven't even seen a report. Some people say they don't have a report. Meanwhile, there's a report.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was Justice Dorsey who sat on that commission. The report is available. All these things, you need to get it. It puts you in a position that if you now have to make a case tomorrow, someone asks, wait, what evidence do you have? You say, these are the things available. You get it? So, in my view, as I'm saying, yes, the database, good, but it should be expanded. You get it? And anything so far as disaster is concerned, these things must be made available, such that one, if you think that people needn't do what we call let's say, hazards that are exposed. Right? So for some of us, every now and then, as we walk around, we're able to identify some of these things. You ask yourself, NATMO and all that. We can see some serious disasters along the area. But with some of this information, it makes it easier for the insurance industry, or for that matter, the regulator, okay, to bring it to the attention of the government that, hey, there's something here based on all these things that we have gathered. This is a danger, and therefore there's a need to work on that.
Wow.
There's a place called Nhyira Addo. You know that area?
No.
That is after the Adenta barrier, going towards the Fafraha. Or
down the road towards Fafraha on the Ashie stretch.
You see the traffic light. When you make a U-turn, you go down there. Big hazard all over that area. What is the hazard? You see a lot of container shops stretching about 400 meters, and they are all under the high tension cable.
Wow.
They are all under the high tension cable. If something happens to that high tension cable, just like we are being told that one of the guys who lost his life in this particular flood was electrocuted or something like that, that is a big hazard, you know. But the problem is that because we are not able to pick up good information, we are not able to come up with informed things. So assuming a lot of people there have life insurance policies, what are you doing? You've subjected a company to a huge, you know, payout. But then you could have avoided it by informing them that you don't have to be here, and then the authorities must kick them out. We all know that no one is supposed to work or stay under a high tension, you know, cable. But these people, some sleep in the containers there, and it's a very serious one.
So, if I get you right, you're saying that the fidelity of the data we collect and the insights we draw from it can help us ensure that government is proactive and the industry grows.
Exactly. You see, because as I said, you know, don't forget, the monies that are collected, that are put into the pool, right? Those monies are monies that individuals and government itself can borrow from.
Yeah, I mean elsewhere, insurance companies are actually providing municipal bonds.
Yeah, you
going into.
So if we would sit down and allow certain things to deplete it, then at the end of the day, the developments that we are talking about, we're not going to see it. You get it? But everything is based on data. Having gotten all that information, that's why I keep saying that it doesn't matter whether a risk is insured or not. So far as it has happened, we should collect that information.
Because it helps you understand why you should have done certain things.
You get it? So no matter what it is, collect it. Move on. You know? Because one of the things that you're asking for is that there's a danger. You see, liability insurance is one big problem. You know? Third-party liability insurance, where one could be sued for, you know, negligence or come under the torts, you know, law and what have you. Those areas are issues that you would want government to understand that, look, the disaster in such situations, you cannot actually estimate.
I mean, just like nobody could have estimated or predicted June 3 and 4,
you cannot estimate.
5 years ago.
So we will want a liability insurance to be more than just compulsory.
Explain why so.
All right, so I sit here, Nhyira, I'm sitting with you here, talking. The next thing I realize is that this roof has collapsed on me.
Is this where we say Tofiakwa? I understand, but yes. Yeah.
I can sue, is it multimedia or joy? This chair I'm sitting on, right? As I can see the swivel is somewhere, right? If it bends a little and in trying to support myself, my thumb goes down there and I hurt my thumb, I can sue you. All right?
But if there's liability insurance,
so that liability insurance will take care of this problem that
anyone who accesses the building is covered.
Exactly. And it should cut across because you never know.
Wow.
The other day I was telling my friend, Uncle Ebu.
Yes.
I told Ebu that one of these days we'll sue him.
Why?
No, I told her, look, Ebo, you are always doing programs at National Theatre.
But isn't the National Theatre's responsibility to have liability insurance?
You know something? There's something we call occupier, there's something we call owner, there's something we call convener. Okay? National Theatre may have a public liability policy, but it is not they operating at that time.
So it now becomes the occupier,
the one who is doing it. You see? So as you say, people should go to National Theatre every day, right? If that building collapses right now, you can imagine, and you know the number of people that walked into those programs.
Yeah.
Huge liability. Okay, that reminds me. Stadium disaster. Is it May 9th?
May 9th.
Stadium disaster.
Yeah.
If the stadium had a good public liability policy, that is what it has to take care of. The 100 and something, what do you call it?
I think it was about 119 or so.
Yes,
people.
who perished, lost their lives. So anywhere that public gathering or any place that somebody not belonging to your scope walks in, the possibility of that person getting injured is high. And therefore, there's a need to make sure that you are protected because you can be sued. Now, when you are sued, at the end of the day, whatever figure that is awarded, okay, then you
126 lives lost on the day.
You see, so it counts back to the insurance policy, and then the insurance policy takes care of that.
You know, it's quite interesting you said this. One of the things that emerged as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic was the fact that Wimbledon is suspended, right? But I discovered that Wimbledon had been paying I think about £2 million a year towards a pandemic insurance.
Yes.
That if there was a cancellation because of a pandemic, and the payout is huge.
Of course, I mean, that's what I'm saying, that is all creativity. People, you see, identifying the needs and then designing the policy to meet that. And just like I was telling you about the unemployment insurance, you get it? Identifying that, look, anything could happen and then you could lose your job, not as a result of fraud or as a result of resigning, but in issues of this nature, they could happen, right? So no through a fault of anybody, you got to go.
At least there's a certain cushion to keep you going.
Exactly. So it is more of understanding the situation. As I said, you look at it, create it, and make it available to the insuring public.
Yeah.
You got it. So these are some of the things that actually we have to see and realize the importance of them. But so in terms of the public liability aspect, irrespective of the fact that you may not have data, but it's a real situation.
Is it a case that you don't have data, or is that the data is there, it's not being organized, analyzed and aggregated for insights?
Well, as I said, what really comes to mind, right, is the June 31, the stadium disaster.
I mean, we have data on accidents on our roads every day. We're able to count the number of lives lost.
Those data cannot be relied on. Okay.
Aren't they coming from the MTTD? Why would you say they can't be relied on?
I'll tell you something here. There's a gentleman by name Makufu Swampedu. At that time, he was the head of the claims section at SIC. One time, he realized that he was receiving some police reports. Okay? Police reports.
Sorry.
Medical certificates.
I see where this is going.
Death certificates. Sexton's reports and everything. He was the head. And so these things are passing in front of him. He went through it for a period and said, no, something is fishy somewhere. He did his investigations and got the police CID from Accra, and they moved into a den in Koforidia. And you see the typewriters and the police letterheads and the medical reports and everything. At times they could even support it with amputees. Don't forget that insurance fraud is real. And
of course it is. I mean, the NIC said that the reason they had to do the motor insurance database was because they collectively were losing more than 390 million.
Look, I'll tell you what. One other case that came up.
Why would people do that?
One other case that came up, right? There was an accident on the motorway. They went through the same thing, right? For some reason, the documents or the file appeared before one of the lawyers in the office, and he said, "Oh, I know this man, the owner of this car." So he called the man and he said, "Oh, sorry about your accident." I said, "What accident?" "Oh, your car's a sickle." It was just a scratch. But come and see the things that were on the file.
Wow.
Including prominent lawyers making a case for a claim.
Wow.
You see, that is why at times I have problems with the way they react to some of this is that by force pay claim, by force pay claim. And look, I'll tell you something here. An MP, driving in town, saw a car that is just like his car, mangled somewhere. He went to hide his car in the village, removed that car number, and came to put it on the damaged car. An MP, and said he was coming to make a claim.
Okay. These are these are outrageous, but I guess every space, when it comes to insurance fraud, the stories are varied and very interesting. I don't even know whether to call this ingenuity, but the disingenuity of the human mind
is
I'm
saying that, you see, in my view, I think that the industry, you don't sit down and let these things come. The moment you hear them, get your team
and get ahead of it.
Get data. You get it. Get it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you see, if you always want to, oh, I've heard this, I've heard that, and what have you, and waiting for someone to make a report, you'll not be able to build a good data for yourself.
Okay.
So, you need to set the people out there. You have a special team that will, as it were, authenticate or otherwise some of these cases that come up.
Now, there are several different types of insurance. There's there's life, and then there's general, right? Okay, so in general, then that's where you have home, content, and all these other things, goods in transit, you name it. And then life is really pertaining to life insurance, as it says on the tin. Everything that is related to life and living it.
Let me say on the back of life. On the back of life.
Yeah.
It's on the back of life.
Now, if you were to advise someone from the experience that you've had, and I want to buy insurance, what would be the optimum number or kinds of insurance policies that one should have?
If you say you, I'll say, okay, so far as you have a motor vehicle, so that one is automatic.
By law.
Yes, by law, it's automatic. The next thing is the personal accident insurance.
Which is also attached to the...
No, that's what
so what?
Just a personal accident insurance.
So
your own life.
Okay. I see.
That is accidents that may not kill you, but probably make you virtually like vegetable.
Okay.
You can't do anything. All right. And then fire.
Okay.
Fire insurance. All right. And then the life aspect of it. One of the funny things about the fire, at times when you talk of fire, people think that you probably need to have a building before you talk about fire.
No, I just realized that you did not.
You see? No,
for as long as you occupy the space,
not even that. Not even that. The point of the matter is that the little things that you have, your shoes, your shirt, your trouser, your coat, and these are your personal things.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe you're renting the property, so you think the property is not yours. Fine, but your own things that you have.
My family suffered a fire outbreak that pretty much just destroyed everything we had. I was a very little boy at the time, but I remember it so vividly now. If we had insurance, then the burden would not have been as bad.
No, that was you even forget about those content things that you are talking about. Just talk about your portmanteau, your suitcase. the little clothing that you have in that suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
You must realize that anything could happen to it and then you've lost it. So it's very important that everyone sees the need for that insurance.
So you've talked about motor, of course that one is by law, fire, personal accident.
Then a life policy.
A life policy.
Yeah.
So as one would say, the bare minimum, you should have this.
Yes, barest, you should have it.
Because it actually speaks to everything. I mean, so fire, of course, for your belongings. Motor for your car, if you have one. Personal accident is not just... it's pretty much taking your own destiny into your hands. Because if somebody buys a policy, there are several different levels of what the payout will be.
Yeah.
So if you are depending on someone's accidental cover without augmenting yourself with your own personal accident cover, then you probably could be shortchanging yourself.
That is why it's very important that you have your own personal policy.
But if I never claim, the money doesn't come back. And there's, insurance is the kind of thing that you spend out of the money that,
I understand where you're coming from, and in fact, it's the kind of idea that so many people have, right? It's basically what it's known as discretional income. The discretional income. So, having had your disposable income and taking care of those things, then now it comes to the discretional income. You want to see real value for that discretional income. So someone thinks that he's been paying insurance for how many?
5, 6, 7 years.
Yes, and therefore nothing is coming out of it, so it is considered as some kind of waste of things. Of course, I mean that's a genuine thinking. But as I said, you see, it is a cycle. We forget that money that is put into the pool helps takes care of the few. In fact, actually, that is the kind of definition I love for insurance a lot, right? You can give so many definitions to it, but that is the kind of definition I love. This is that the many that contribute into the pool helps take care of the few that suffer. The fact that you have done it for so many years and you've not suffered does not mean it is not awaiting you tomorrow, right? One of the things that you have to look at here is that, as I said, beyond that, that money is also going around to help the economy. Because the money is not just coming to sit in the pocket of somebody. That money is put into investment. And as that money is put into investment, for instance, the person who is thinking this way, you may be a businessman, and you forget that you're probably going to the bank for a loan. That loan that the bank is going to advance to you is part of the money that you yourself have contributed into the pool that is in there.
I thought the banks owned insurance companies and not the other way around.
The banks own insurance companies and not the other way around. So the money, anybody can own a bank. The insurance companies can own a bank.
In some places they do.
Yes, and I'm saying that Ghana here, if the insurance companies wants to own a bank, they can own a bank.
But the money that the bank needs to do business,
because
money
your money is in the bank.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the money that maybe your municipal assembly might borrow for the development of that sharp curve that is killing people.
It's all part of what everyone has contributed.
Interesting. So, when I made the remark about the Wimbledon story, so here's what they've been doing actually. So for a period of 17 years, they have been paying about over the period. They paid £25.5 million.
Okay, by way of premium.
By way of premium.
Good.
The payout is in the region of about £114 million. So they had done this 17 years.
Good.
There was no pandemic. They were doing it, no pandemic. Since 2003, after SARS, that's when they decided to do that. So maybe you may not be making the money or getting something out of your insurance right now, but apart from it going into other sectors of the economy and supporting infrastructure development and all of that, you never know when you might need to claim.
Exactly. So you don't sit back and think that way. But as I said, I can understand.
But why are we know these things, why is it that we're still at 2% penetration.
Well,
what is wrong?
Honestly, I'll tell you one thing here. The penetration issue for me, I think it's all for some academic purposes. For me, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Because the industry itself grows. Okay? And those percentages and what have you, I don't really waste my time on them.
Mm-hmm.
What I think is important is what we call the density. Okay, the insurance density. But that insurance density should translate into reality.
Mm-hmm.
The reality being that how many people are covered? How many people have insurance? That is the most important thing that you have to look at.
So in terms of, so if you say density, and I'm testing my understanding on this, that you could say that our insurance density is positive when it comes to motor vehicle insurance.
No. Basically, what is
that there are a lot more people who have it.
What insurance density simply means is that just like the penetration is a percentage of total GDP.
Okay.
Density is like dividing the premiums by the number of human beings
who are covered.
No, like the population.
Okay.
You see, the population. So if you have a population of, let's say, 30 million, then you divide the premiums by that 30 million. So the figure you get
is what gives you the density. Okay.
But as I said, if we are in that understanding that you are dividing it by the people, then we should know how many people are really having insurance policies. And that is where I think is the crucial thing. And that is why you say, how do you design the policies to attract these people? One of the things that we do, which I think is not helping the industry, is this. If I were to say, I need 2,400 cash. Maybe about, I can get probably 100,000 people to give me 2,400. But if I were to ask people to pay 200 cedis every month, I'll probably get over 500,000. You get it? And don't forget that insurance thrives on the law of large numbers.
Yeah.
Little drops of water makes the mighty ocean.
That's correct.
So if you make premiums such affordable and flexible for people, it will be easier for people to see the need to be part of the scheme. But if I tell you at a go, come and pay me 2,400, it will put a lot of people off, because as I said, you see, these things are all dependent on the discretionary income.
So you must give me an incentive to part with that money.
Something that will make it easier for me to pay.
So you can calculate a yearly
exactly
payable
so that's
monthly in advance.
2,400 is an annual premium.
But you pay 200.
But then after you pay me 200, you get a lot of people coming in, and at the end of the day, the figure that you are expecting, the figure that you would have collected for the 2,400, you can get about 4 times that figure.
Because a lot more people more
people can afford. So these are some of the strategies that you have to actually adopt. So even if, on the average, even if it is 10 cedis you can collect from somebody, right? And you can collect 50 from another person, cumulatively, you get that figure. And you can get a lot more people being part of the scheme, a lot more people being covered, and making sure that should any unfortunate event happen, at least some relief is there.
Is there for them.
Our failure to look at some of these things. Because, like, for instance, if you say life premiums are annualized, but at the end of the day, they pay it on monthly basis. Why can't you do it for the other sectors?
Right. Edgar, I think we have to end now. Komla Adum is breathing down my neck, and he would like to bring us the headline news at 2. And I'd like to say a big thank you to you. For me, the takeouts are very simple. That data is critical if you want to be able to deal with some of these things, deepening the insurance pool and getting more people on there. And we must see some innovation on government side and also on the industry side. And finally, education, of which I have received quite a bit this afternoon. Unfortunately, I can't play the full song I wanted to play for you, but I'm sure you recognize this song. It's George Harrison, My Sweet Lord. Thank you. This has been the Executive Lounge, and the news is up next, after which your award-winning late afternoon show will be on. It's Drive Time on Joy. My sweet Lord. Peace.